What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the RBI podcast. My name is Richie. I am your host. We have episode number 18 and the first official regular season episode. We got games to talk about. We got players to talk about. We got rules to talk about. And unfortunately, we have injuries to talk about as well. But before we get started, like always, like, comment, subscribe below, as well as follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at RBIPod. I really enjoy interacting with you guys, so if you guys want to leave a comment on the video, on a YouTube short, on the TikTok, I am more than welcome to it. I will answer as many as I can, or all of them at this point for me. So appreciate you guys listening, and before I keep rambling on, let's get right into the episode. So to start today's episode, I'm just going to start by saying this will probably be the last time I really go in detail with the new rules, unless there's like a game that ends on like a strike 3 call or something like that, or a strike 3 violation, we'll call it. But I just wanted to address them because we finally have regular season games to go off of if these rules are working, what they're causing for the game. Because spring training, like, it was a learning experience for everyone. It still is a learning experience for everybody, but now we have actual games and actual data to base things off of. And in my opinion, as far as the pitch clock, you don't really notice, in my opinion, you don't notice a massive difference until you look up at the end and, 1 o'clock game ended at 3:45. Like, you won't see like a 1 o'clock game end at 4:45 anymore unless some random anomaly game happens, which it will happen, but for the most part, it's worked. I have stats here. In 2023, the pitch clock has worked because the games have been taking 2 hours and 38 minutes compared to 2022 where it took 3 hours and 6 minutes. That is a full 28 minutes. This is the point I made last episode. It's not going to take an hour and a half off games. It's not going to ruin the fan experience, in my personal opinion. But you knock off the dead weight. You knock off the unneeded fat with the batter getting out of the box, readjusting his gloves, taking 14 practice swings, kicking his cleats. You don't need to see that. I'm sorry. Like, I'm pretty even keel when it comes to like being a purist and being like a modern day, like, I guess, not advanced. I don't know what the word is, but progressive baseball fan, I would say. But I like it doesn't make that much of a difference for me. I didn't mind the long games, but you can definitely feel a difference in this compared to, like, watch the World Baseball Classic. As good as it was, the games were long. If you can get that game in 2 hours and 40 minutes, the action will be that much more exciting. And I think that's why baseball is doing really well with this, and it's for sure working. 14 to 15 games ended in under 3 hours on Sunday outside of White Sox Astros. Guess what the time of that game was? 3 hours and 6 minutes. 3 hours and 6 minutes was the average for 2022. So it's obviously working, and like I said, some games are going to go 3 hours and 10 minutes, 3 hours and 20 minutes. And I guess the point I want to make with the pitch clock specifically is that the point of it isn't to knock off an hour of the game, even 40 minutes of the game. The point of it is to prevent the 4-hour game, to prevent the 5-hour game. That's also the point of the Ghost Runner. It's the point of all these rules, the 3-batter minimum, which don't really know if that does much. But anyway, it's going to be a learning curve. I've seen some violations. I saw one in the Met game today that helped the Mets. Not going to lie, it's kind of nerve-wracking seeing 5-4 and the pitcher just standing there in his set, and it's like, oh my god, throw the ball. And that's funny to me, but overall, I like the pitch clock. It's done well. It's working, and it's accomplishing what they want, so you can't really get mad at it. And the product hasn't really changed. Like, the violations haven't, like, decided a game yet. Will it happen? Of course it will. But for the most part, it's working pretty well. April is going to be a little tough with the violations, but I guarantee you by, like, May, latest June, we're going to see 1 violation a day, 1 every 2 days, 2 a week. It's going to start getting less and less and less. And then, like I said, when you're watching the game just at home, you don't really realize it until, like, there's a violation, or until, like I said, you see the time of the game afterwards. But that's my take on the pitch clock. Moving on now. The stolen base is back. That's the name of this podcast, the name of this episode. And it's because of the bigger bases, and wow, has this been probably the most noticeable change. In 2022, MLB opening weekend, there were 29 steals in 49 games. In 2023 opening weekend, there are 70 steals in 50 games. I don't even have the attempts listed down. That's a massive difference. Unless they were stealing 41 bases in one extra game, which that's not going to happen, this is a massive difference, and this is good. I'm not really quite sure who leads the league in steals. I believe it's Cedric Mullins or Jorge Mateo, one of those two. But I know I'm pretty sure the Orioles lead the league, but don't fact check me on that. I heard that on Saturday. Sunday it could have changed. I know Anthony Volpe's had a bunch of steals as well. I think the Mets are up there in steals, and guys with speed are going to start using it, and that's good. And this year is 1.4 steals per game compared to last year it was 0.51. So that's been a massive difference. It's helped. I saw today Corbin Carroll stole second and third, and there was not one throw made, which, if you're worried about that becoming a thing, I wouldn't think too much into that. First off, Noah Syndergaard was on the mound, who is notoriously slow to the plate. Second off, Corbin Carroll is one of the fastest players in baseball. So that's one of those situations where it's like, it happens. Like, I know Sean Murphy's had pretty good luck throwing out runners to start the year. He's a really good defender. But this is what baseball wanted. Baseball wanted the action. Baseball wanted the movement. They wanted the action of the runner going to second, throw down, ball gets away, gets to third. They want all of that. They want the small ball back. Are we going to bring bunting back? Probably not, because it was funny. Like, we talked about how all the action they want, and then I believe the first game of the year, Yankees, Giants, Garrett Cole struck out 12 in like 4 innings or 5 innings. It was crazy. And by the way, shout out Garrett Cole. We're not going to talk about him in this podcast, but wow, he pitched well. He was really on a mission, and the only thing that stopped him from not being my pitcher of the week or my pitcher of the weekend was a guy who didn't give up a hit, and we'll get to that later. Baseball kind of needed this. They needed the steals back because like Ricky Henderson revolutionized it. And will someone steal 75 bases? Maybe. But imagine how cool that will be to see that record get taken down. Like, it's almost impossible. Like, I don't know if anyone's stealing the amount that Ricky Henderson did. But to see guys get the 50 steals, the 40 steals, the 60 steals, we're going to see like Ronald Acuna challenge a 40-40 again. Trey Turner challenge a 40-40 again. We're going to see that happen. And I think that would be great for our game because we'll have more of those must-watch television games in August. Every time Acuna gets a hit, is he going to steal? Is he going to get his 35th steal? That bodes well for the game. Do I think we can keep up 70 steals in 3 days? I don't know about that. Are they going to have to scale back? Maybe. But for now, it's a good start. And for something a rule that has just been changed in Major League Baseball. And yeah, I like it. The steals are cool to me. It gets a guy in scoring position. It takes away from like the whole get him on, get him over, get him in thing. It still applies, but now when you get the guy to second, also there's less double plays, like less action. There can't be as much action if there's not anyone on base. So you move a guy to second with a bunt or a steal. They figured out that they weren't getting the bunt back, so you might as well try to enhance the stolen base, and that's what they did. So kudos to baseball for this one. And lastly, the shift. I don't have much stats on this. I just pulled this from Baseball Reference. I don't know if this is for including today, meaning Sunday, or yesterday. But the BABIP in 2022 was 290. The BABIP in 2023 so far is 301. What BABIP means is batting average for balls in play. It takes away strikeouts. It takes away walks. It takes away, well, obviously walks, but it takes away strikeouts, basically. If the ball is put in play, what is your batting average on that? And right now it's 11 points higher. Wouldn't take this much into account, but I feel like this is going to be more of an eye test thing, and like there's probably an advanced analytic, like how many singles are pulled through the 4-hole. You could see that. How many singles up the middle, things of that nature. But for most casual fans, it's going to be an eye test thing. And I specifically saw the Astros-White Sox game. I saw Jose Abreu hit a chopper up the middle for a single. I saw Kyle Tucker, I think, do it. Like, you're seeing it happen. And it's cool, but I think what also gets lost, like I saw today, I think it was Pete Alonso, hit a dribbler to second base, and in my head I'm like, that's a hit last year because the second baseman's not there. The second baseman is behind the base. I also think what gets lost in this is that you can still shift. You just can't, you have to have the two guys on each side, and you can't be past the base or you can't be on the grass. That's fine for me because you still want to be able to move guys around, and we saw, like I said, the left fielder play in short right. That's not going to happen that much, but you still want to be able to move guys around and position them in the spots that they need to be, but the overloaded shifts got to be too much. We saw Manny Machado catching balls at the wall in right field. He's a third baseman. That should never happen. So the shift, in my opinion, it's working, but like I said, it's going to be more of an eye test thing rather than seeing stats that back it up, unless you're like someone that's on Fangraphs every second of the day and really dedicates their time into finding stats for the shift. But besides that, all I got, like I said, the BABIP for last year was 290, for this year is 301, and that's an uptick. So there are more hits, there are more singles, there are more balls in play. We hope that the strikeouts get cut down. We can't really control that. But for now, the new rules in effect have showed results. So unfortunately, I feel like I talk about injuries a lot on this podcast, but we had a couple of really key ones. One of them, I was at work, and I'm checking my phone, and all of a sudden I see on Twitter, Justin Verlander placed on injury list, and I'm a Met fan. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, that took me way off guard. And it was a low-grade teres major strain. It's funny, I'm literally scratching my teres major strain, or my teres major, as I'm saying this, if you're watching this podcast. But the initial news scared fans, and I get it, like, 40-year-old pitcher, hurt already. But if you listen to Verlander talk, or you listen to Epler talk, Billy Epler meaning that the GM, it seemed like something they got out in front of that could have been a lot worse. He didn't stop throwing, which is very key because he doesn't have to ramp back up, which is another 2 weeks of rehab. This exact injury happened to Tristan McKenzie last week, but he had a high grade, so he has to shut down throwing for 2 weeks, which means Verlander, if his rest and recovery is 2 weeks, I don't know the exact timeline, but if his rest and recovery is 2 weeks, he never stopped throwing, so the ramp up is going to be seamless. For McKenzie, he has to rest and recover and not throw, so you have to start throwing again, which will probably take a couple of weeks, especially at the beginning of the year. So that's why his injury, I believe, is a 2-month injury. Verlander's, knock on wood, for his sake, for Mets fans' sake, for my sake, is going to be less because he's never stopped throwing. He's going to get, I think, more imaging next week, so I think we'll not know more then, but we'll know his progress or regression at that point. But I do think it's encouraging, not to be like an optimist, but he never stopped throwing. And he threw like the day after, I believe. And we haven't heard anything since. But that's Verlander. So, and if I'm a Mets fan, they had a good weekend. They won 3-4. They lost the one game Peterson started, but he only gave up 1 run. So the Mets starting pitching so far has been good. Kodai Senga, after that bad first inning, really settled in. That ghost forkball disappears. Scherzer was Scherzer, and McGill did a good job starting in place for Verlander. So for the Mets' sake, you just kind of have to grind it out until he gets back. Like, he's 40. These things are going to happen. But like I said, it looks like, knock on wood, they avoided like a massive injury. I don't think he hurt his lat. I don't think it was a high grade because he never stopped throwing, and he was able to throw. We didn't hear anything bad out of the throw session. So that's a good thing if I'm a Mets fan and for Verlander. Next up is Max Fried. This one stinks. And also with Verlander, Fried, and I'm going to talk about Robbie Ray as well. These are all, like, especially the hamstring and the teres major. They're lingering things, so you got to really treat them carefully. But for Max Fried, literally covered first on a ground ball to first. It didn't look like he stepped wrong or anything like that, and he just grabbed the back of his hamstring. Like, you pray it's a cramp when that happens, but they immediately placed him on the injury list, which you're going to see that a little bit because of it's so early in the year, and you don't want to make things worse. You don't want Max Fried to end up like really hurting himself. I don't know the severity of his injury. I just know it's a hamstring injury. I also know you do not tread lightly. You tread very carefully with a hamstring because it can linger. You can think you're healthy and you're not. So for Fried's case, and for the Braves' case, this is tough. Like, they started a rookie today. He did not fare well. Like, it's early though. It's game 4 we're on. So I'm not gonna make some crazy like accusations for teams or start like, oh, the Rangers are the best team in the league because they swept the Phillies. So we're not gonna do that. But it's just they don't have Fried. They don't have Kyle right now. Mike Soroka's still working his way back. Raisel Iglesias hurt. So they've had their share of injuries in their rotation. Right now, it's Strider looked really good. Like, he looked very good. So he's there. After that, like Charlie Morton, I guess. I think his name is Jared Schuster. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. And then I'm not sure after that. So it's going to be tough for the Braves. But they have the offense to really cover them. But Max Fried's their guy. He's their ace. And I don't know what the situations are with like the other pitchers that are injured on that team, but for now, like Fried is their guy along with Strider. Those are like the top two. So now you're putting a lot on Strider for April. It's probably going to be around that, or like maybe like April 20th, depending on how he responds, meaning Fried. But the Braves will be fine, but you never want to see this type of injury early on in the year because this is something, like I said, that can linger all year long. Last up, Robbie Ray. This is the one I'm probably the most concerned with because it's his elbow. It's a grade 1 flexor strain in his elbow. He pitched Saturday, didn't do well. He's not the ace of the Mariners, but he's on a big contract. You start getting elbow things. I always say elbow, shoulder, and forearm scare me because forearm usually leads to elbow, and shoulder, like we've seen how long, like Sixto Sanchez is still not back. And it's been like 2.5 years, it feels like. So for Robbie Ray, like it's grade 1, so it's not high grade. So, but flexor strain this early in the year, not great. It's not something you want to play around with. So if he's out for longer than he has to be, I wouldn't be shocked. The Mariners have like Luis Castillo, George Kirby, and Logan Gilbert to cover it, so it's not like they lack starting pitching. But Robbie Ray, like he's going to be needed down the stretch, and he's going to have to be able to pitch well. Those are the three guys I highlighted. I know other guys got hurt, like Luis Urias got hurt for the Brewers. That stunk. 6 to 8 weeks he's out already, so you don't want to see that. But you pray these guys stay healthy, especially pitchers, because pitching injuries, position players as well, they can last weeks, months, years. We've seen it happen before. Steven Strasburg still hasn't looked right since 2019. It stinks, but it is what it is. So, like I said, from a concern level, Robbie Ray is definitely 1 here, and then Fried and Verlander kind of, I guess, tied for 2, just because, like I said, the lingering effect, the earliness of it, so like the severity might not even have an impact depending on how long they keep guys out. If like the Braves and Mets keep winning, it'll give them more incentive to make sure these guys are fully healthy. But like I said, it's still April, so even if they're not winning or they're playing 500 ball, these teams are going to be in it towards the end, like the Mets and the Braves, specifically for the NL East. We saw it last year. So these are 3 guys. Like I hope they get back quick, but I also hope they get back healthy and successful. So after the first weekend, we have 3 undefeated teams left. Spoiler for everyone: none of these teams are going to finish undefeated. If you thought that was going to happen, then watch football because you got a better shot at that. The Rays, the Twins, and the Rangers. I'm going to start with the Rays. They gave up 3 runs in the series. They just flat out dominated the Tigers. The Tigers are not a good team, and the Rays are like the type of team that like you're not gonna snake bite them because their attention to detail is so good. Their pitching is insane. Wander Franco's off to a hot start, which is encouraging because I was a little harsh on him, I would say, because of like his lack of success last year. But he's healthy, he seems, knock on wood, and he's playing well. Jose Sirius had a couple of big hits. Randy Rosarena hit an absolute nuke today, and then ate a Stroop waffle in the dugout. So this guy he's a character that baseball needs, and I like him. I like his like attitude and the way he goes about like playing the game because it's a game, and it's cool to me. But the Rays, not much to really say here, just because the Tigers are just not a good team, and giving them 3 runs in a series is pretty damn good. So congrats to the Rays starting off hot. But I'm not crowning them. I'm not crowning any of these teams. I'm not writing off any of these teams. But for now, the Rays, there's no better way to start a weekend than to not lose. So the Twins swept the Royals. This is probably the most forgettable series of the weekend. Like Guardians Mariners was a good series. Blue Jays Cardinals was a lot of scoring. Chris Bassett did not fare well. But to stay on the Twins, they swept the Royals. The Royals did not score until Sunday. Similar to the Tigers, the Royals are just not a good team. The encouraging thing for the Twins that I took out of this was that Joey Gallo had 2 home runs. Is he going to ever hit 290? No, we know that. But if he can hit home runs, I spoke about this a couple weeks ago, I think last week. He could be an X factor. Why not? And finally, I'm going to go more in depth with this. The Rangers swept the Phillies. Even though they won the series, they scored 27 runs the first 2 games, and they won 2-1 tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. Martin Perez did really well. The bullpen really did well. Phillies are 0-3. It's gonna happen. Like it's April. The Phillies are a good team. I do think they're not. I don't think they're a playoff team. Like I said that already, but they're going to fight for a spot, and I would not be shocked if they did make it. One thing about the Rangers is Jacob deGrom got lit up, and that is not a good sign. Like, especially that, he's a big contract. The guy is, like, dominant his whole career, basically, especially the last 4 or 5 years. But an NL East, I believe, executive, scout, whatever, I don't know the exact title or her exact title, but she said, or he said, this is kind of like it happened last year. Like, he would not have his great stuff, and he's made his money basically with his glove side control. He lives on the outside for righties and the inside for lefties, and he throws his slider off his fastball. When you can't control that, you need that third pitch, and I feel like he's gotten away from that the last couple of years. So if he can get his curveball and his changeup going, he'll be fine. He'll be back to himself. I'm not worried about him at all. He's Jacob deGrom. I've seen it too many times of him bounce back, especially as a Mets fan. So for him, like, I'm not worried, but if it starts to become a problem, the Rangers are in a bad spot because you're not scoring 27 runs or 29 runs in a 3-game series every time. That's nearly impossible, or is impossible. So World Series hangover for the Phillies, probably. Also, losing Hoskins right before the season probably stung a little bit, so they're still working through what their best options are right now. I said my Eduardo Escobar trade for the Phillies, but I don't know if that's going to happen. The Rangers, they're an interesting team. Like, they're a team that, if they get off to a good start, can definitely be a force and kind of be in the playoff hunt, because if they got off to a rough start, I mean, it's only 3 games. Like, they can lose the next 6, and this conversation could mean nothing. But starting off 3-0 and getting off to a good start for a team that hasn't really experienced success as a group yet is huge, because you have a good April, and all of a sudden you start stacking weeks, you start stacking series, you start stacking months, and then you find yourself in the end in the playoff hunt. And that's the goal for the Rangers this year, obviously. Like, Simeon's off to a good start. Seager is, I think he's gonna love the fact that there's no shift. Brad Miller Mitch Garver hit a couple of really far home runs. Josh Jung hit a home run tonight. Like I said, they have a really good offensive team. Their pitching depth is a little iffy, but Bruce Bochy is known for making bullpens good and pulling strings in the correct spots. So if he can keep doing that, then they'll be fine. And I spoke earlier about, like, the Guardians Mariners. This was a great series. Ty France hit a massive home run early in the series. So, both of these teams I believe will be playoff teams. I have that in my predictions. Blue Jays Cardinals, another great series. Like I said, Chris Bassett got lit up. It's going to happen. But the Cardinals pitching is a little iffy. I know Jack Flaherty, I don't even think he gave up a hit, but he walked 7 guys. So that's concerning. He needs to be back to his regular self to be him, like the guy that we know and love and is a really good player. So, yeah, I wouldn't take too much into start one, but he's gonna have he kind of has to be the ace because they don't really have one. Are they going to trade for one? I predicted they will. So, yeah, we'll see with that. I'm just jumping around the league right now. I'll talk about a quick Anthony Volpe. The Yankees won the series against the Giants right before a tornado hit. And also, if you live in the New York, New Jersey area, hope you guys are all safe. My town got hit with a tornado. Looks like we avoided the worst around this town, so thankful for that. But anyway, the Yankees won the series. Judge got 2 homers already, so he's balling. Yeah, the Giants kind of just got outclassed. Logan Webb pitched well, but he just gave up a couple homers. It's gonna happen. The Giants, they're banking on guys that are off to slow starts. It's one weekend. I'm not making too much of it, but the Yankees take the series to the Giants. The Mets took care of business with the Marlins. We spoke about that earlier. Yeah, I'm just kind of running through the league. If the Angels and the Anthony Rendon, don't call him swear words if you're a fan, because he will try to punch you. But after a bad loss in Game 1, where it looked like all the memes were going to start coming out with the, Trout and Ohtani homer, but the Angels lost. I hope that's going to become a tired act because, like I said, the Angels do have a good team. They kind of showed it. I'm not even talking about their offense. Like, they kind of put up a bunch of runs the last 2 games. I know Trout and Ohtani both homered today, but their pitching is, like, severely underrated to me. Like, Ohtani's a true ace. Tyler Anderson had a great year last year and is looking to continue that. Patrick Sandoval's coming into his own. Reed Detmers is good. Jose Suarez is good. Like, they have a good rotation. Their bullpen's a little iffy, but when you can hit, you can kind of supplement that a little bit. So, for the Angels' case, I mean, I know they beat the A's, but winning the series is good. Now they got the Mariners, which is definitely a series to watch, in my opinion. And, it's just... I wouldn't count this team out like the Angels. I just think they're a really good team, a really good roster. Brewers Cubs, this was a pretty good series. Jesse Winker had himself a nice day today. Dansby Swanson's leading the league in hitting at 750. No, it's not going to last, but it's good to see him get off to a good start. I saw Braves fans get a little upset because of his first base celebration, and that's the Braves tradition, but I'm sure he's in Atlanta at heart, and I respect that. So, but he's playing well. Marcus Stroman threw really well in that game. Corbin Burns got touched up a little bit, so we had a couple aces, and then I don't consider Bassett an ace, but we had a couple really good pitchers, like Burns, DeGrom, Bassett. Not fair well. Aaron Nola didn't pitch well. Max Fried, before he got hurt, was not pitching well. It's opening weekend. Let's pump the brakes. Let's not... Is Corbin Burns going to give up 7 runs in his next start? Honestly, I hope he does because he plays the Mets, but... No, it's not going to happen. He's too good. These guys are too dominant. They're going to be back to themselves. It's early. It's 3 games in. But something to just monitor if things were to go wrong. I'm just going to try to keep running through the league here. I know it's the first weekend. I don't mean to keep you guys that long, but I'm just trying to give you guys some content before I get to my performers of the weekend. I think I mostly covered all of the most important ones. Like the Braves beat the Nationals. Took 2 or 3. They lost a tough one with the rookie pitch today. Jared Schuster. I think his name is Jared. I know his last name is Schuster, but didn't pitch well. But they took the series. That's all that matters. Yeah, I'm not going to run through every series, every episode. I want to keep the content kind of full. I don't want to just scramble from topic to topic. I thought about doing predictions for every series, but I feel like that's kind of tedious and kind of boring. I did that before. I didn't love it. So we're going to avoid that. We're gonna check right now just to see if I missed any series, and if you guys are watching and screaming at the camera that I missed one, I'm sorry. Philly, Texas, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I'm not gonna go into Colorado, San Diego. That was an interesting one. Colorado took the first 2, and then San Diego evened it up. Juan Soto's off to a tough start, but he'll get it going. I do find it interesting that Yu Darvish hasn't pitched yet. Is he injured? I'm not sure. Blake Snell did the Blake Snell thing. He'll probably throw 7 shot next time out, but he just does that a lot. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, oh well, who cares? Chicago, Houston was a very interesting series to me, and also Baltimore, Boston. I wanted to get into that, but Chicago, Houston, good series. Not gonna get much into that. Lance Lynn was a dog. That was pretty cool. Baltimore, Boston. Wow, what a way to lose a game. Baltimore won today 10-9. No, they won Thursday 10-9. They were off Friday. Then Baltimore lost 9-8. I'm going to get into that game. And then today Boston won 9-5. Baltimore cost themselves a series win in the worst way possible. Masataka Yoshida hits a pop-up at 2 outs in the 9th. Orioles look like they're going to win, secure a victory after almost blowing a 7-1 lead until Ryan McKenna, I believe, in left field, dropped the pop-up. With 2 outs. The next batter, Adam Duvall, hit a walk-off home run. There is not a worse way to lose and not a worse feeling in the world than doing that. I've done it before. The encouraging thing is Adley Rutschman went 5 for 5 in game 1 with a home run. The encouraging thing is Cedric Mullins is raking. The Orioles are hitting to start. Their pitching is definitely, the concerns that I have for their pitching staff showed early. And you don't want that to become that is what is going to hold them back this year. So Baltimore Red Sox got the series win. It wasn't the prettiest. Chris Sale did not pitch well. So both of these teams are gonna be probably anywhere from 25 to 30 in runs allowed per game, and that's the issue with these 2 teams. So those are I have my undefeated teams, and then I just ran through the league a little bit. But now we get into our performers of the weekend. To start off my performers of the weekend, I'm going to do my pitcher and then the hitter. I'm going to do 1 pitcher, 1 hitter every episode because I basically do this. It's going to be after the weekend series, and then I'm going to do one. I decided I'm going to do it on Friday, so after the the week series, because Thursday will clear out all the games, even if some series have already started. But Jeffrey Springs for the Tampa Bay Rays left-hander threw a no-hitter of 6 innings today. I mean, he didn't finish the game. It's game 1. It's also the Rays, but 6 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts for a guy that does not throw 97. It's pretty impressive on 81 pitches. I know the Tigers aren't great, but to start like this is no better way to start. I was leaning Garrett Cole until this outing happened. So congratulations to Jerry Springs. You have the Performer of the Week for the pitcher, or the Performer of the Weekend for a pitcher in episode 18. My hitter of the week, this was tougher because if you look at the OPSs right now, it's insane. Adam Frazier leads the league. It's like an 1,800 OPS. That's insane, but I went with CJ Cron. I was going to go with Trace Thompson, but he only played 1 game, or he only has 1 game of stats at least. So CJ Cron hit 3 home runs in 3 games. He's tied for first with Trace Thompson. He's second in RBIs to Trace Thompson with 7 RBIs. And he's got a 1729 OPS, which includes a 1263, I believe, a 1260 slug, which is ridiculous. They also took 2 games from the Padres, which is very impressive. CJ Cron has this knack of just consistently being the most underrated hitter in baseball, and no one talks about him. I don't know why, but good for him. He's going to probably hit 30 homers again, make the All-Star team, and just keep doing that damn thing. He's always been a good hitter. He's a good option at the trade deadline because the Rockets aren't going to be good. But I think they just gave him an extension. I'm not sure, but any team can use his services. Is he a Coors Field merchant? Who knows? We'll find out if he gets traded. But he's always been a good hitter. I always get him and Mark Trumbull. I think that's a good comp for each other. I use CJ Cron a lot when I use the term how do I put this? A slump-proof swing. When you have a very balanced approach and a very balanced stance and swing, like some guys have the highlight kick, like they hang their leg. When you have those types of things, it's hard not to go into slumps because when your timing gets messed up. But when you're consistently balanced and quiet, it's harder to go into slumps because you're so quiet. You're not relying on a massive leg kick. You're relying on your hands and just your pure power, and that's what CJ Cron has. He's gonna go into slumps. I'm not saying you can't go into slumps, but I call them slump-proof swings because it basically means a balanced approach. That's the way I put it. But 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 1729 OPS, and more importantly, 2 wins versus arguably the best team in baseball. So congratulations to CJ Cron for being the hitter of the weekend. So that is all for episode 18. I appreciate you guys listening so much. If you have some segments you want me to do, drop it below in the comments. Drop it on my TikTok, my Instagram, wherever you want to drop it if you made it this far. Find our YouTube short here and my subscription here in one of these spots. I'm still getting used to the reverse camera. But anyway, I appreciate you guys listening, and I will see you guys on Friday. Peace out.